Welcome to the Firewater Review, a weekly podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On this week's episode, we are reviewing a Willett Family Estate 5-year bourbon whiskey. I am Seth Brown. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How's it going, sir?
Doing fabulous. How are you, Seth?
I'm doing swell. I've been looking forward to this one. This is the first Willett we've done.
Yeah, it's a cool product too. Because this is not just any Willett; it's their actual distillate. So it's their 5-year that they put out this year. So it's in-house made. It's not sourced. So that's going to be kind of fun to try because up until now it's all been sourced and barreled or bottled and put out there. So looking forward to trying some in-house juice.
Yeah. No, was this a Kentucky only release or was it outside? I don't think I ever saw it down here.
This bottle I bought at the distillery. So actually it was kind of a funny story. We went down St. Patrick's Day this year for that foolproof 1792 foolproof pick.
Mm-hmm.
We were down there doing the barrel selection, and I mean, Heaven Hill and Willett just around the corner. So when we were done doing the pick, we're like, well, let's head over to Willett and see what's going on. Not even knowing when we showed up, it was their 80th anniversary that day. And so,
great timing.
So they had the big, huge release of the 80th anniversary bottle, which that was all gone by the time we got there. But the gift shop was still packed with these 5-year bottles, which usually you show up at like 2-3 o'clock at Willett. It's a ghost town. Everything's gone and shelves are empty. But they still had a ton of this 5-year bourbon. So picked up 2 bottles, and it wasn't like terribly priced either. And it was $45 or $50 a bottle, so not too terrible.
Not like the rest of their stuff.
Yeah. So grab 2 bottles. It's 120.2 proof, 5 years. Bottle or barrel number is 050. Really looking forward to it because up until now it's all been sourced. So
yeah,
finally get to start trying what they're putting out. And I don't know if you've tried the old Bardstown bottled and bond yet or not, but that's some pretty impressive stuff they're putting out there too, and that's their own distillate as well.
I've missed that one too. I know I had a cousin that recently came down from Kentucky, and I was hoping he could pick me up a bottle, but nobody, it's a small town in eastern Kentucky, and none of the stores there had it. So I've continued to miss out on that one.
It's a good pour, and it's $22 bottled and bond, so it's priced fairly with old Granddad and Evan Williams White Label and that kind of stuff. It's all kind of sitting at the same price point. So
that's their distillate too.
Yeah, that's their stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I know the ryes. To be honest, I'd never had any of their bourbon until you sent me this sample, and I've had a bunch of their ryes. I've got an old 4-year, or I'm sorry, somewhere around here. There's an old 4-year wax top floating around here, which is sourced, and then I've got the 2-year rye, which was their distillate. I think that was the first family estate that they'd put out, was their 2-year rye. And then there's a 6-year rye that I have as well that is sourced too. Even, that 2-year rye, I know it's not a bourbon, but it shows its youth, but it's still good. Like, you get a lot of those real solid rye flavors, and I haven't had any of the older stuff that is their distillate from the rye family, though. But even the stuff that they sourced, they did a really great job picking that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 2-year rye was, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but, just over a course of the year, the 3-year they put out, I thought was pretty good. And then I'm looking forward to this year, the 4-year rye. Yeah. And there should be... the 4-year rye should be this year, I think, and so I'm looking forward to trying that. I think that'll be pretty outstanding, because I feel like from the 2 to 3, it's leaps and bounds better. So hopefully the aging kept well, and it's even better now.
If they can hit that the flavor profile of that 4-year wax top that I have, I like it a lot, man. It's a fantastic young rye.
Oh yeah. I actually also have a 4-year wax top unopened, and I doubt they're the same barrel, but you never know.
I think mine's barrel 111.
Yeah, I'd have to go digging, but
in the crawl space.
Yes, in the crawl space. But maybe someday I'll get around to doing that and compare barrels.
I won't make you do it tonight.
Yeah, not tonight.
So Willett, they have a lot of stuff going on at Willett. I think they've been kind of expanding and remodeling, I think.
Yeah, new gift shop. They put in a bed and breakfast. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff there. They want to compete with the big boys, and they can. I mean, like I said, you walk in there on a Friday at 3:00, everything they release that day is gone. I mean, people come and clear it out, and I mean, look at the secondary market. It shows people are buying it up left and right. I mean, yeah, the 2 and 3 year ryes are still probably sitting on shelves here and there, but any of their bourbons they're releasing are gone.
Yeah.
And, I think they're trying to produce enough to switch all their product lines over to their distillate. It's not going to be anytime soon, but it's going to take a while for them to get to that point. But, because, I mean, you talk about their product lines. I mean, they just have a vast majority of, I'll just jump into it. They got their Willett pot still. They have both their rye and bourbon family estates. You got Johnny Drum, just the black label. You got the Johnny Drum private stock. You got Old Bardstown bottled and bond. The Old Bardstown just estate bottled, and then the Old Bardstown 90 proof. So the estate bottled is bottled at 101 proof. Then you got Noah's Mill, Roan Creek, Pure Kentucky, Kentucky Vintage. I mean, that's just so many products.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've gone through and tried them all, but they're all different, in their own right.
Yeah, Pure Kentucky for a long time used to be a favorite of mine, and I revisited it fairly recently. And I don't know if just what I had changed a lot, but I remembered it being different.
Yeah,
and I was kind of let down by it, honestly.
I remember I had a bottle like that too. I opened it, and the first pour I loved, and about halfway through the bottle, it felt like something changed, and it didn't get bad, but it got different, and I liked it at first, because it's that 107 proof, and that's the higher proof of what they have out, and I don't know, it just seemed like it's one of those bottles. I think the more time it sits, the worse it gets, which you don't get that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like that, and honestly, I've never bought another bottle since, and I've been actually wanting to buy another bottle just to kind of revisit it and see if there's any kind of change in it, or you know what I mean.
If it's just a fluke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had it. I haven't had the vintage Kentucky. I've had the Johnny Drum, the family estate bottles, and the pot still. Now I've never gotten into any of the super aged, ultra aged family estate stuff. I think the highest I've had of any of those is maybe a 10 or a 12 year rye, maybe, and that's just been a pour. I never owned a bottle of it or anything.
Yeah, I got lucky enough to past couple times I've been down, pick up a couple like 12 and 14 year bourbons, but I tried one in Chicago. I tried a 21 year at Delilah's, and it was pretty spectacular. But
I've heard, I don't know if you've heard this or how true it is, but I've heard a lot of the older aged, you get up around the 20, 22, 23 year old family estate bottles. I've heard that is basically Van Winkle stock that didn't make it to Van Winkle products.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about that, but it was good pour. Because they do have Well, they have regular bourbons, but they also have their wheated ones that they release as well.
Yeah.
And I know the 20+ year wheated ones are big ticket,
Yeah.
on secondaries. So it wouldn't surprise me if that could be the case. But I do know, well, I don't know, but I've heard a big majority of their stuff that is sourced in is from Heaven Hill. And I could imagine that it being true because it's across the street.
Right.
So, I mean,
just roll the barrel across the road.
Yeah. So, just roll them right on down the road.
Now, I know a lot of the ryes there for a while were coming from MGP, I think. Or everyone,
Yeah.
People speculated that anyway.
Yeah, I would imagine probably. I mean, I think most source ryes come from MGP, but
yeah.
Do you want me to do any history? Or I mean, I know we did Noah's Mill.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So I can do some brief history, just on the distillery itself.
Yeah, if you got anything you can touch on.
Yeah, I mean, they broke ground in 1936, and then March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, the next year, 1937, is when they actually barreled their their first barrel distillate. They barreled and put it into Warehouse A. 1940s is when they introduced Old Bardstown. And then in the 60s is when Johnny Germ was introduced to the market. And then in the 70s, they had, I don't really want to call it an electricity crisis, but there was some kind of like energy crisis where they had to stop distilling. And they had enough backstop to kind of last them up into the 80s. Mm-hmm. But when they hit the 80s is when they actually kind of rebranded the name, went from Willett to Kentucky Bourbon Distillers, and then started sourcing stuff. It was in the 80s, and they sourced up until 2012 is when they actually started distilling again. Huh. They opened up their still 2012. It was January 2012, I believe. And let's see, so January 21st, they started up the distillery. So January 27th is when they put their first distillate into a barrel and back into Warehouse A, which is where the first barrel, when they first opened in the 30s, went to Warehouse A.
That's pretty cool.
So then 2015 was their 2-year rye release. 2016 was a 4-year bourbon, which I never tried any of that. But also in 2016, they released, that's when Old Bardstown Bottled and Bond was released, and that's their distillate. And then, like I said, St. Patrick's Day this year is when they had their 80th anniversary.
That's pretty cool. As are most whiskey distillers, it sounds like they're very much in tune with their history and kind of recreating some of that.
Yeah, so little history there, and but yeah, I'm just excited to sit down and try this their own juice finally.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very much excited about this one.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, was there any info or dates anywhere when the family estate stuff started being produced or released? Was that in the 80s, or did that happen in the 90s?
It was actually I do have, it was Family Estate Rye was introduced in 2008.
Okay. And
the Family Estate Bourbon was also introduced in 2008. Okay. So both 2008.
Cool. Well, let's take a break and drink some. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. When we return, we'll share our notes on Willett Family Estate 5-year bourbon. Welcome back, everyone. In the break, we've been sipping on Willett Family Estate 5-year bourbon. Per usual format, I will let Aaron kick it off with his notes, and I will drag up the rear.
All right. Like we talked before, this is Willett's own distillate, so it's going to be different from anything that I've tried before or you've tried before that they've sourced, but this is actually for 5 years. It really surprised me. It's a really good pour. On the nose, I get a lot of caramel, a little bit of honey, molasses. I get bits of peanuts. I still get that like sweet corn, almost cereal, like young bourbony notes. But I get little hints of mints, a lot of cinnamon and clove, a little bit of allspice. I get cherries and anise, and like young fresh cut oak.
Mm-hmm.
And then the palate's great. Yeah, it's 120 proof, so it's hot, and it's got a good mouthfeel. It's pretty viscous. But on the palate, it's really sweet forward for me. I get lots of caramel and vanilla. I get honey. I get some toasted nuts in there. I even get like little hints of marshmallows. But after all that sweetness dies down, man, it's nothing but spice. It's pepper. It's cinnamon. It's like red hots. It's just cloves and allspice. It's even a little bit of nutmeg kind of floats in. But then at that tail end, I just get that fresh cut oak again. On the finish, it's long. It's hot. You know it's young because it is a hot finish. It's peppery, a lot of red pepper, cinnamon, bits of caramel. I get toasted nuts throughout the whole thing, which I love. That's one of my favorite things in bourbon is when I get those roasted peanuts or peanut brittle. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it's a great pour. I was happy with it. I gave it an 87.
Cool. An 87.
87.
Got that down here.
Yeah, not bad for 5 years.
No, not at all. And that's really what stood out to me too. I mean, you touched on it there a couple times in your notes. You know, the youth of it. I got that too. It didn't. You know, it didn't. You get that grain that you mentioned, the cereal grains. You know, I get that too, and I think that's where the youth comes into play. But it wasn't. I didn't get as much as what I thought I was going to, especially for 5 years, and being a single barrel for that matter.
Yeah.
So for me, on the nose, I was getting that light, fresh cut oak that you mentioned, honey, allspice. Got a lot of crushed red pepper and light cinnamon, along with some nutmeg, and it had a good bit of caramel and toffee sweetness to it that helps really kind of balance it out a little bit. But it definitely lets you know that it's high proof. But for me, it managed to keep the alcohol down on the nose. Really great nose, though. The palate, for me, it was medium to full-bodied. I expected it to be a little bit more viscous than what it was, just because of the proof, but maybe that has something to do with the age. I'm not really sure. But it was still a great palate. It starts off with a good bit of spice for me, red pepper, cinnamon, and then getting that light oak there coming in again as well. It really hits the top of my tongue. I mean, just that spice just nails it. Then it really kind of levels out a little bit with some honey and caramel sweetness that helps kind of smooth out that spiciness. The finish for me was long as well. I get a lot of that same spice kicking the finish off, and then that moves into some much sweeter flavors, some brown sugar and caramel. It starts to get a little earthy for me towards the middle to the end of it. I get the clove, some leather, and some really, really light tobacco on the very end of it. There was something when I was sipping on this that just the very end of the finish, and I never could put my finger on it, but it's an earthy flavor. I just really couldn't quite pinpoint what it was, though. It wasn't anything that I have in my notes, but I found it pretty unique. Overall, I thought it was really good. The cinnamon and the red pepper kind of lead the way for me throughout everything. It was just a very enjoyable pour, high proof. I give it an 88.
Oh, nice. Well, that's an 87.5.
Yeah. I like the easy math stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even have to break out the calculator.
No calculator needed.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. I like the earthiness of it. I think that kind of made it a little unique for me because you get quite a bit of spice and sweetness, and this, that earthy one just kind of brings up the end there for me. And I enjoyed it. Kind of made it a little bit more complex than what I thought it might be for 5 years.
Yeah, and this one gives you a nice nice Kentucky hug too. I mean, you really get that warmth in your chest,
Mm-hmm.
and what I love in a bourbon, when you get that nice warm feeling in the chest, and you're just like, you could just feel your soul healing.
Makes for a good end to a day.
Oh yes, yes. So, yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was Tuesday. I did what I told myself I wasn't going to do. I was just at the local liquor store, just kind of browsing. That's when the shipment comes in, talking to the manager, and
Did you get back? Did you get sucked back into the mob?
Man, I tell you, I was talking to him, and before I was talking to him, I was just kind of browsing the shelves, and I saw they had the Basil Hayden rye in. And I picked it up, I looked at it, looked at the price tag, I sat it down, kind of walked away, and he was like, "Hey, did you see we got the Basil Hayden rye in?" And he picked it up and he handed it to me. And it's like, oh, man, when he hands it to you, you can't put it down.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, yeah, okay. And so I ended up buying it. And it's just like, I didn't want to, because I'm 80 proof. I mean, I like ryes, but I'm like,
I like them a little higher proof too.
Yeah, but whatever. So I bought it and I brought it home and I opened it up, and it's not bad. I mean, you just imagine 80 proof rye, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I ended up buying it. But
maybe that's why I never take the bottles out of one of my stores' hands. Like he'll bring it out and hold it up from behind the counter. He's like, "Hey, we got this in," and I don't ever touch it.
You just keep your hands in your pockets.
Yeah. Just look, don't touch. But he pulled it out. And I was like, of course he knows I like higher proof stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've had it. It's all right. But just, as we've already talked about, just the proof for me kills it.
Yeah. I figured the worst case scenario is I keep it back for my wife when she wants a cocktail, and because she likes ryes. Her favorite's Bullet rye, and then but she likes Manhattans with Basil Hayden. So it's like, well, kind of make she likes Bullet rye, she likes Basil Hayden. It's Basil Hayden rye, so I might make a good Manhattan someday, or old fashioned for her. So we'll see.
It won't go to waste either way.
Yeah, it's hard to do when they hand it to you, and you're like, they know you spend a lot of money there, so it's like they probably know you're going to buy it, and then, but they also hold stuff for you, so it's kind of like, well,
yeah,
whatever.
I was a little bummed out this week. I went back into one of my shops, and I'd been in there about 3 weeks ago, I guess, and the Four Roses Al Young had hit the Atlanta area, and so I just happened to be over by that store that day that it hit, so I went in. And I was picking up something else anyway. I can't remember what it was. But I asked him if he was getting any. And he said, I don't know. Let me call my rep. So he calls the rep, and the rep doesn't even say hello. I'm standing there. The rep doesn't even say hello. He said, and I could hear him, "I haven't gotten my allocation yet, but I'll let you know when I do." He knew exactly what he was calling about.
Yeah.
So I got a laugh out of that. So my guy tells me, I hear him tell him that you owe me a favor because I helped move a bunch of Yellow Label for you. So don't forget that. And so I was like, all right, well, he should at least get one bottle, I would think anyway. And it's not a big store at all.
Yeah.
And so I kind of let it go because the big stores usually get their allocation first, and then it kind of trickles down to the smaller stores. And so I was going to give it a week or two, and he told me he would hold me one. So I go back in. Gosh, I don't know when it was. Anyway, went back in earlier this week or sometime over the weekend. And I asked him, "Hey, did you by chance get any of that?" "Yeah, I got 2 bottles. Didn't I give you one?" Like, no. "I thought I gave you one."
Man.
I was like, "No, I didn't get one, man." "Oh man, I'm sorry. I must have given them," because he got 3, but they have 2 locations. So one of the bottles went to the other store, and then 2 went to his. And that store, I'm not the only bourbon guy, so which is fine. I mean, he'll make it up to me, and I have 1 bottle, but I kind of wanted 2 because I knew that I know that I'm going to like it. So yeah. I was a little bummed about it, but he said I'll make it up to you in the fall.
Yeah, well, at least you got one. I don't have any of it, and I don't think it's gonna hit. Well, it'll probably hit Ohio, but it's gonna get all the bars and restaurants. I doubt it. I'll see any retail.
Well, I can send you a sample.
Well, that would be greatly appreciated.
Maybe I'll do that because I have a nice little pile that has Aaron Cave's name on it right in front of me.
Yeah, could be a good Firewater review episode.
I think so. Yeah, we'll have to have the fine gentleman that supplied me with my bottle back on to do that review, Mr. Jeremy Shell.
Oh, yes. Well, speaking of Jeremy Shell, I just purchased a couple of his group's picks, so maybe we'll just do like a big Jeremy Shell night and just record a bunch of episodes. And because I got, I think, a couple bottles coming to me, and you got that, and yeah, it could be a fun night.
Just a Firewater review marathon.
Yeah. I'll just I'll buy a bag of Cheetos and set up camp down here with all my bourbons, and yeah.
Well, they have I think they've had a couple of them on the Bourbon Daily show, Jeremy Shell Week, where he comes on and there's a different topics about everything. So maybe we have Jeremy Shell,
Shell month. We'll top it. We'll do a Jeremy Shell month.
That'd be all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I'll have to slip a sample of that in here. I haven't opened it yet, but I want to. So me sending you a sample is my excuse to open it.
There you go.
Well, anything else to add?
I don't believe so.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Cool.
I think we're good. Good, good pour, good bourbon. Glad I got a second bottle.
Yeah, if you see any of the family estate stuff, definitely give it a shot. Most of it's good. The 2-year rye was good for what it is, I think. I mean, it's not like anything to like go hunting for or anything, I don't think. And it was like 35, 37 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, any of the family estate stuff is pretty good. Even if it's their source stuff, as we mentioned earlier, it's all good. It's all good. So definitely give it a shot. What did we give it? An 87.5?
7.5.
Cool.
Yep.
Good deal. All right. Well, where can these fine folks listening to the show find you?
Well, you can always find me here on the Firewater Review, Instagram, Twitter, at Bourbon Cave. And I write for the Bourbon Zeppelin, high proof single barrel bourbons, and also write for the Sons of Winston Churchill. So, you?
Excellent. Yes, I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram and hardly ever on the Twitters. You can find me on this show, obviously. You can also find me doing reviews on the Son of Winston Churchill. You can find them on Instagram at Son of Winston Churchill, and that blog can be found at sowchurchill.blogspot.com. That is run by our fine friend Hassie Berg. Does a great job, so be sure to check that out. Check out all the shows that we're doing on the ABV Network. You can find those at abvnetwork.com. You can find this show, the Firewater Review, and all other shows on the ABV Network in iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. You can also find this show on the YouTubes. Audio only. No video. You can't see our pretty little bourbon drinking faces. I'm sorry. We do appreciate your reviews, your feedback. We welcome that. And I think that does it. Next episode, we're going to have a guest. Yeah, we hopefully have a guest. I'm not going to lead it too much.
We may have a guest, we may not. You know what? I feel like if we don't have a guest next week, it'll be Black Maple Hill. Non-age statement.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
But if we have a guest, it could be something else.
It could be.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
We'll keep you informed through Instagram.
Yes, so be sure to follow us there.
Yes.
Always keep up to date on what we be drinking. So until then, until next time, please drink responsibly and cheers.
Later.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.